Hello, beautiful people. Welcome, one and all. It is time for the Love You to Life podcast. And we do, in fact, have another banger topic for who?
You. Just
You.
you. Just for you.
Now listen. Here's the thing. We have tiptoed, dabbled.
We did
Put a toe in, just a look, around this topic several times before. But it's enough conversations happening and enough conversations that should be happening that ain't happening that we need to make it a whole episode. And this one on the side of the screen or the top of the screen or wherever you're watching her,
What?
she's the razzle dazzle on this episode today.
Don't do it. Don't do me like
But
that.
I have done a little something different for y'all. I did a little something different because I did a little crowdsourcing. I talked to some other people in addition to our perspective, and we're going to pull that in as we talk about this topic of church hurt.
Booyah.
Is that a booyah? Is church hurt a booyah?
Booyah.
I'm not sure that that's booyahable, but
came up in my spirit.
Okay.
Booyah.
So here's the thing. We are talking about church hurt because there's a lot of people right now for a lot of different reasons, some of which are very valid, and we'll get to that in a minute, where they have been hurt in religious relationships to the point where it is causing them to kind of step away from the church or have very negative feelings towards the church. And as somebody who love God, I mean, love him real bad.
Love God. What's wrong with you?
That's somebody else's. Somebody else's.
We'd like to give credit to Mary for that song. I love God.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't that just Erica Larson?
Yeah. Miss Erica Campbell by herself.
Okay. So we love God real bad over here. But when we are talking about people who feel like their heart was broken, they were abandoned, they were mistreated, they were, in some cases, brutalized or intimidated or isolated by the exact people in the building that's supposed to represent wholeness and healing, we got to talk about it. Because as much as we love God, and sometimes we like his people too, we got to be telling the truth about it.
I agree.
So I'm going to toss it over to this one over here.
No, you're not tossing it to me. Why are you tossing it to me?
Ding. Because she's going to break down this topic of church hurt for the people.
Okay. Well, I want to start with this thing. When you get physically hurt and you get mistreated, it seems like people really do understand. It seems like people hold space for you. It seems like people will come and rally around you, support you. But when you are saying that something happened in your religious relationship, which I love, you said that earlier, I'm going to keep that. You said religious relationship.
Just came to me.
When you are hurt, disappointed in your religious relationship, then sometimes people seem like they really struggle with that. And as a therapist over the years in my, y'all, I wear two hats, y'all. I'm a licensed therapist and a board certified life coach. So in my therapeutic work over the years, I've had so many cases of church hurt that will probably knock your socks off. Like people have said things to me that have happened to them in the church that you would not believe. And very hard to believe. And it's really changed how people can relate to God. So I want to suggest if this isn't you, like if you don't understand because it hasn't been your story, I'm just going to ask you to just put your story to the side for just 1 second and just join us for a brief conversation about what has happened to some people. And we would never say that it happens to all people. So we're just asking that you come along with us in this conversation to hold space for people who have been hurt in the church. And we want to do that partly because it's important to us that people have a relationship with God.
Period.
Right? And so you do need to separate your church hurt from your relationship with God. And so that's part of the reason why we want to have this conversation too. But we're just going to ask you to just come alongside us and and hold space for other people. So, I don't have any sort of, qualifying statement necessarily about what it is. I would just say that what I've heard from clients is that it's a pain that runs very deep, that happens in a religious relationship, whether it be with a pastor directly or whether it be with the organization of a church. And a person feels misunderstood, abused, hurt, disenfranchised, abandoned, neglected, in the religious relationship that they have with members of the church as an organization or with the pastor of the church. Is that good enough?
Period. That's good. We're gonna take it one little step further
Okay.
because I think what from a coaching perspective, right? So we both have certifications in coaching, right? From a
Mhm.
coaching perspective, what we look at a human being as is a multifaceted person that
Mhm.
has different areas of your life. So you have your physical health, your financial health, your emotional health, your relational health, your environmental health, your spiritual health.
Right.
So if a core category of who you are as a person is harmed, that's a significant breach. So this is not just like, "Oh, we don't agree on how long your skirt should be." That's not what this is. This is not
No.
about like some type of a doctrine disagreement or like a minor offense. This is things like judgment. One that I specifically feel, and I'm just gonna tell the truth because I mean, I'm bad, I'm grown, can't
What?
nobody done uh hypocrisy.
Mm.
Okay?
Oh,
Particularly right now with the evangelical church, hypocrisy.
uh-oh, here she go. Mm,
Okay.
mm.
One that came up in a little it was trending for like in the last couple of weeks, right? Where somebody called somebody else out about their offering wasn't good enough. Okay.
I mean,
Um,
you want
control, manipulation, abuse of authority, all of those things
yeah.
go into this bucket that we're calling church hurt.
Right. And
Okay.
I would also like to say that you are talking to 2 certified, bona fide church girls. I just want
Mhm.
you to know. We have done it all. I want you to know we understand the revival, the
Oh,
vacation Bible school. We understand the cloths over your knees to make sure that nobody's looking up your skirt. We understand the prayer cloths laid over you when you fall out under the power of the Holy Ghost. I want you to know we are the bona fide, certified church girls.
we understand the Baptist finger. If you
The
don't know the
one
Baptist finger, I'm not even sure that you're really a Christian. I'm just saying.
and our grandmother had the number 1 best Baptist finger I've ever seen. Because our granny was a little bit of a streety person, and she wasn't gonna stay at church all day. So she will put that finger up on you and be out.
So, what we're talking about, like, I think what is critically important right now,
Yeah.
particularly in the church, as we look at like why are kids leaving the church and not coming back? Why
Uh-oh.
are people who grew up in the church now completely opposed to church? Like if you grew up in the church, like the Bible says you won't turn away from it. You'll return to it as an adult. If that's
That's
not
what it said.
happening, who fault is that, right?
What happened?
What's critical is that we hold ourselves accountable in this conversation. If you are a believer and this has not been your experience, I want you to hold space for people who this is their experience and actually look at how you can not necessarily harshly judge other people, but own the fact that this might not be your story, but it's still relevant. And I think the first kind of layer of this is we have to understand that the church is made up of people and
Right.
people are inherently flawed. So we
Right.
have a perfect God, and we have flawed people. And that is sometimes a recipe for some problems because people haven't always done their work. But one of the things that I think is really important is that we stop pretending like if it happens in the church, it should just be covered by grace. That's not what grace is.
Ah.
Grace. Grace
Okay.
does not cover your foolishness. Grace
Okay.
does not cover your ignorance, your willful decision to manipulate a situation. That's not
Mm.
grace, right?
You might still find yourself in jail for stealing out somebody's
It
purse, but
should be. It should
mm,
be.
mm.
Okay. So we have to, if you have experienced church hurt, the first thing that I would really want to encourage you to remember is that God and the church are not one and the same. The church
Right.
is a representation here on this planet of God's spiritual family,
Mhm.
but we will not be perfected in this lifetime. So we will continue to make mistakes and have bad, make bad decisions and make bad choices. And there is the room for hurt. So if you are disappointed
Mhm.
that someone wasn't better,
Mhm.
I think that's a valid conversation, like a valid feeling to have. A lot of people have this expectation, like once you go to church, that you become perfect, and that is not the thing. And if you don't get nothing else from us here at the Love You Life podcast, please get that.
And stop
We
lying.
love God real bad, and I am not perfect, and don't try to be.
Period. Period.
So, but if you kind of thought like, well, you the preacher, you supposed to have it all together. Not necessarily. You
No.
do have a higher requirement based upon the call on your life and the call that you have chosen to accept.
Yes. Mhm.
It does require that you do some things, like you have like do your own work, sir,
And
ma'am,
ma'am.
madam,
Yep. Mhm.
but that doesn't mean that you have to be perfect, right?
Right. And so what
So
you're talking about when you're saying that, you're saying like this is a representation of a family, of God's family.
mhm,
And so we
mhm,
have to understand that in our own families, it's not gonna be perfect.
no,
And we will have healthy boundaries. When appropriate, we will exercise our boundaries, right? But there's not gonna be any situation where everything is just seamless. It's just not
right.
gonna be that. It's just not gonna be that.
Even if you might want it to be. So I did, like I said, I did a little crowdsourcing. So I want to pull up a couple of quotes. I'm getting fancy.
Oh boy. What? You gonna pull
So
up some stuff.
I asked a couple different like categories of people. So I asked people who are just like connected to me on social media, but I also asked people that I have like that are in different Facebook groups and things specifically for clinicians because I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of people end up in therapy because of church hurt. They really
Oh,
do.
let me tell you something. That I can't tell you how many times. Y'all, if I told y'all how many some of the things are just too specific to be able to share to protect people's
Right.
privacy,
Right.
right? But when I tell y'all, if it can happen in the streets,
It
it's
can happen.
happening at church. That's all Imma tell you. If it can happen in the streets, it has happened at churches, and I know it because those people have sobbed in my office.
Mhm.
It's true. And some things I have lived through myself. I have a strong history of some great pastors in my life. Rest in
Right.
peace, Reverend Johnson.
My
Um,
godfather.
her godfather, Reverend F.D. Johnson. Rest in peace, Pastor Johnson. But on the other hand of it, I will not call his name. There's some other people. that-
We'll,
No,
we'll protect them. We'll protect
I'm not even gonna do it because they human and and I'm gonna let them slide on that. I will not put them on the podcast. But let's be clear, some of that stuff was borderline criminal.
and some of it was what? Criminal. Okay.
Criminal?
So here's a couple of things that some of the therapists kind of said to me. Um, when spiritual authority gets intertwined with shame or control, it creates deep wounds.
I like it.
Okay.
I agree.
Um, Another person said, I had to redefine what faith looks like outside of the walls of the church.
I like it. Another one.
And
I like
and
it.
then someone else said, "For me, it took over a decade to even approach faith again." So here's what I think all of that really shows us,
Yeah.
that with the responsibility of being a Christian, the privilege of it comes this huge responsibility of doing your best to not harm God's people.
Right.
Because when people and we kind of think about this the same way when people like are coming into the counseling world, like we always can say like people don't come to counseling for fun. They come to
No.
counseling hurting. And so when someone is coming to you when they're hurting, you have to go the extra mile to be
Right.
a safe space for them.
Right.
And part of how you continue to hold space for people who have been hurting is making sure that you're taking care of yourself. So, I mean, truthfully, every member of the church who's in any type of a leadership position should be on somebody's couch on a regular basis.
I mean, and if you're not, this is our call to action. Get in there. Get in there.
Get in there. Get in it. What's that
What
song? TikTok?
Uh-uh. When y'all watch this on YouTube, you're gonna see what she was just doing, and you're gonna be like, "Why did she do that?" That's all I can say.
I'm just
But no,
saying.
get in the office, get in the chair, sit on the couch, whatever it may be. If you are a pastor, you need that. And here's why, because you're dealing with people.
Right.
Lots of people. Isn't there a saying? It doesn't it go something like where there if many people, many problems? Like where there are people, there are problems. You ain't never
Haven't
heard that
heard that
before?
saying, but I like it. It
It's
works. I
something
mean, it
like
works.
that. If there are people, there are problems. Because people have problems. You're not going to get away from that. It's going to show up. And so if you are the person who has been charged, which we're going to say by God, to work with
Mhm.
these people, you better get in there and do your work so that you will not continue to harm people, so that you
Right.
won't damage people, and you can actually be the hands and the feet of Jesus. You better get in there.
Right.
No, I'm
And
done with
if
that.
you are a person who's listening to us and you're saying, like, I think I have church hurt. I haven't gone to church in a long time. I had a problem, something happened. Here is what we want to like really affirm for you. It is normal to feel shame,
Right.
right? If you were to say like, and I was a little bit surprised as I kind of crowdsourced this a little bit because I felt as some people's responses for people who hadn't experienced church hurt to me were defensive, right? Like they were like, "How dare you say that about the church?" Kind of thing. And I'm like, you kind of proving a point, dog. Like
Period, dog.
you kind of proving a point. If they can't come to you and say, "Sister, you hurt me," and
Mm-hmm.
not have you question their faith,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the point. So if you're experiencing shame because you feel like if I was a good enough Christian, I wouldn't feel this way, that's a normal thing. If you're afraid, like even acknowledging the pain feels like you're betraying God, like you are betraying the church. That is a normal feeling. If you're just flat out confused, right? Like if you're just like, I don't know what to think. And I think those are sometimes the people who end up in the counseling offices are like, this relationship with God was a part of my identity, and now it feels like I no longer have that, and what am
Right.
I supposed to do? Can I like, is God still a good God? Is
Mm,
why did God let this happen to me?
mm.
What can I do now? Like all of those type of things. And if people are not if you're finding that you can't feel find a safe space, all of that is completely normal. One of the things that and it's probably been a it might have been during the pandemic, maybe even before. There's a girl I'm connected with on Facebook. She started to talk about deconstructing her faith, and I was like, "What an interesting concept." And it wasn't something that I had
Right.
like framed in that way, but church hurt does really push you towards either completely rejecting religion or kind of deconstructing your identity from what you thought was gonna be the religious experience because that has been so harmful to you. So now
Mhm,
you have to figure out, what do I believe?
mhm.
Where do I go with this? How do I feel that? And so any of those feelings that you're having, if you would say you think you're experiencing church hurt or you've experienced church hurt, those are all really normal things. It doesn't mean you don't love God, and it certainly don't mean He don't love you.
Right. I think for many of us the church is such a place of blessing
Mhm.
that we have a hard time wanting to, or a hard time allowing the other side of the conversation to come up. But
Yes.
we have to be honest about it. Like we've looked at other cultures. I know that there are people of color, especially like Hispanic communities and Black people too, who are Catholic. But we looked at the way people had a lot to say about the Catholic Church and the reported sexual abuse in those spaces. And we understood and held space for that, right? But
Mhm.
when you're talking about um some of the Black community, like your Baptist church, your First AME,
Mm.
your holiness
Mm.
church, your Church of God in Christ, then sometimes we don't want to believe that in those spaces, bad things can happen. And I
Mhm.
just want to offer that if it is a family, then we still can operate that way, which means that we can have um forgiveness, right? And we can hold space for still staying in a relationship. But there also is a place for healthy boundaries and a place for a stopper and a place for a no. And sometimes a place for a disconnection from that particular situation. And if you are feeling confusion about that, that's really okay. Because for so many of us, the church has just been a safe space. And when it becomes unsafe, when we don't feel protected
Mhm.
there, we just don't know what to do about it. And
Absolutely.
here's the thing, in many of the cases that I've had in my, clinical space, people have been able to continue to be a part of a church organization. Maybe not the
Right.
one where this situation happened, but they still were able to work through and maintain their faith in God as they looked for new religious relationships. And
Right.
so people are saying, like, this is really possible. You can still be a part of a church, even though you might have experienced immense pain at the hand of a church organization or of a pastor. But we will not overlook it. We will not jump over this and act like
Right.
just because the black church is a, can I say this? Would you agree with this? Do you think the black church is a sacred cow?
I would have said that 10 years ago. I
Okay,
probably wouldn't. I feel like it's less sacred now, maybe.
that may be the
I
case.
just feel like I feel like it's easier for us to question now in some populations, right?
Hmm.
It may
Hmm.
be a generational thing. Like it may be if
That's
you're
fair.
45 or older, it's still a sacred cow. I don't think that if you're under 30, it's a sacred cow.
Okay. And we want to hear about that. Would y'all please let us know? Can I pause right here and say, if follow us on our social medias, y'all. We want to keep these conversations going. So look for us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Those are our primary
You
spaces.
can even find us on LinkedIn.
You can find us on LinkedIn. So I'm at Loving Life with Liz and Calvalyn. What's your
At
primary
Calvin.
at
At
Calvalyn?
Calvin.
Y'all know how to spell her name? Don't call her
Mm,
Calvary. Don't call her Calvary.
I
That's how
mean,
when
or
we was
Carolyn, because it's not either one of
growing
those things.
when we were growing up, people call her some of everything, but what sweet little lady that we loved that was close to our family, Calvary, Calvary. That is not her name. Her name is Calvalyn. So look her up. But follow us so we can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn so that we can keep these conversations going. So if
And
you
somewhere
are
around this episode, there'll be some links for you too. Yeah.
okay, so if you are what did you say, 45 and over?
Yeah, I think it because I'm using myself, right? Like I think if you are my age or older, chances are you still have a little bit of that sacred cow motif. And the reason and let me go back, I want to go back a second, right? Because the black church, and I'm thinking specifically about a nasty little video. I don't know this woman's name, but if I
What?
saw her,
What?
she called out Pastor Jamal Bryant as some type of darn near antichrist because he was speaking about the black church and the white church. And she
Okay.
was saying, how dare you assign race to religion? The truth of the matter is, the black church was the only thing that saved us during periods of time because it was the place we could get healing. It was the place we could get food. It was a place we could get shelter, right? We weren't allowed in the white church. The black church began because we weren't allowed in the white one.
Come on.
The white enslavers created this narrative that our religions that we came to this country with were not good enough,
Mm,
beat it out of us, forced
mm.
us to worship God, but then wouldn't sit next to us in the pew. So the
Okay,
black church was created because of that. So that created a sacred cow, is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the church became the safe space when nobody else would let you worship the God that you now have been conditioned to believe is a good God, then what the devil are you supposed to do?
ooh.
People who are our age or older, I think, still have that. People who are younger, I think, don't.
Oh, let me just say this right here. Let me just tell you, when she start going in, I just sit here. I just sit here when she start going in because you just like, she's too smart. She's too smart. She's well read. She understands the history. And she will read y'all for filth. I'm just telling you, she will read y'all for filth. So when she starts going in, I just sit here. And you know what I do? I do the Nene leaks. I do the
Mm,
Nene leaks when who was it? I think Portia. No. It was Phaedra. Phaedra and Kenya was going at odds on a reunion show, and Phaedra was just going, and every time she hit her with a lick, Nene was like, mm,
mm.
mm. And that's what I do. That's what I do as she was just going through that right there about the church. Cause it was just like, wow, bam, whoa, watch out. Okay, here she go. That's what she just did. She's
Well,
not
here's the thing.
lying though. She's not lying. And
Right.
that's a part of the reason why we need to have this conversation because the church
Right.
has been a place for mobilization for us and protection for us. If it wasn't, they would not have bombed the church with the little girls.
Period.
If it wasn't y'all, we
Period.
would not have bombed the church with the little girls, okay? So the black church is powerful. The black church is important. The black church is beneficial. And if we wanted to stay healthy or to reemerge, if it has not been what it's been before, then we got to be honest about how people are experiencing the black church.
Right.
That's what we got
And
to
on that
do.
point, and on that point, I also need to understand if you are a white church and you know, and let me say something, you don't put it on the front of your pew. Like it's not on your door, but you know if it's a white church or not. Okay. If the majority of the people in your church are whites, if you don't have nobody black in leadership, you're a white church. Okay. Or even if you are a multicultural church, you better be having these conversations.
Period.
I want to, so my membership is in a very multicultural church that is, I would say, predominantly white, but it is a multicultural church. And these conversations are had both from the pulpit and also in individual settings, right? So if you are not having these conversations, you wrong. Because the church is made up of people. And if God cares about every single one of my needs, and you are ignoring my experience as a black human being, a black woman, a black man, a black child, a Hispanic woman, a Hispanic man, if you are ignoring my individual needs because it makes you uncomfortable, you are not the hands and feet of God.
Oh my goodness. There
And
she
that is your responsibility when you chose to accept the call.
That's what you said you wanted to do. You didn't say you was called to just this person or that person. You said you was called to God's people. God's people look a lot of different ways. And God's people have a lot of different stories. And God's people have a lot of different experiences and a lot
Right.
of different problems and a lot of different issues.
Right. And so there's
It's
people who feel like they have been hurt by the black church and they tried the white church. And then they feel like they were hurt by the white church and they said, well, I get it. Forget it. God ain't real. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like that is what some people have that experience. And I think my age group is probably around that cutoff of where like people, because there's some people, it's like, it don't matter what's happened. They might church hop, but they're going to be in somebody's church on Sunday. And
right,
then there's a population of people who are like, I don't know. And then there's the population of people like, I don't want it. Like I'm done.
right,
So I think we have to just be honest about the things that actually create church hurt. And there is an entire population of people right now who are exceptionally hurt by the way white pastors are having conversations about not only people of color, but women.
right. That too.
And I love God enough that I fight you over him. Like, you need to stop.
Well, I did make a TikTok and I did tell the people, stop lying on Jesus.
Period.
Stop lying on him. Do y'all know him or don't? If y'all don't know him, just say I don't know him like that. We not cool like that. But this what I think he does. Because some of y'all out here saying Jesus said, and y'all are lying on him. He is not happy. He's not pleased. Because I know that he cares about our experience. You're not going to tell me that he does not want us to be safe and sound. That he does not want us to have access to the same things. You're not going to tell me that. I don't believe it.
Period.
So if you are the person who believes that it's okay to join with folks who don't hold space for other folks,
You
you're
wrong
wrong.
too. It's simple, right?
That's it. That's all I got. Now here's the thing. I can understand that along our life's journeys, there are some times when we are not open to certain things, or we just haven't had enough education or experience to be able to wrap our heads and hearts around certain things. But that doesn't mean that we don't have work to do. Do your
Right.
work.
Right.
Do your work. Just do that. Right.
And
But
even if you feel like you can't connect with the church body, you don't have to disconnect from God.
right.
God can handle Jesus. I'm pissed at them. Just they hurt. God can handle that. So even if you feel the necessity, which may be completely appropriate, to disconnect from the body, like that is in the building, right? Don't disconnect from the Heavenly Father.
Right. And here's the other thing. If everybody, can I say it this way? I don't know if I can say it this way.
I don't know what she's finna say, y'all. Hold on. Hold
I'm gonna
hold
try to say
hold
it
on
this
the
way.
edges. I don't know what she's finna say.
I'm gonna try to say it this way just until I can figure out a better way to say it. But if everybody with good sense leaves the church, then what?
Ooh, my God. My
Then
God,
what
my
will
God.
happen? Right? So, like, if you are a person who can handle a variety of experiences and thoughts, if you are, emotionally intelligent, you're gonna use that EQ to try to reach other people that don't necessarily act just like you, think just like you, look just like you, whatever. If all those people leave the church, then what?
Mm.
If we don't have a critical thinker in the building,
My God, my God.
then
If we don't
then
have nobody reading above an 8th grade reading level, what are we
Then
gonna
then what are
do?
then what are we doing? And I can say that from personal experience. I alluded to this one of the experiences I've had as an adult in a church that was a church hurt situation. And in that situation, I can go this far. I can say that the church had a school and the school had employees that were members of the church, and the church went through a season of not paying the workers.
Mm.
The pastor had a multi-million dollar home, a high-end hundreds of thousands of dollars car, a private jet, and the church people, the single moms that was running the daycare, that was running the school, were not getting paid at the church.
God don't like it.
He didn't like it. But you know what I was there doing? I was there holding space for the workers with the pastor for a season to make sure the workers got paid. Like there was a point in time when I was actually that person who could influence that decision, and that was the only reason that I was there. And I say only for a season. That was the only reason that I was there, to look out for God's people, to get God's people's paid, and to stand up and speak power, speak what's the word, to speak to something to power? Speak truth to
True.
power. Speak truth to power. Like, hey, this is not right. This is not what you're supposed to be doing with money. This is not how we're supposed to be treating God's people. We can do better than this. There's another way to figure this out. Maybe you have to change this over here, but you don't take it from the people of God. The people of God have worked,
Right.
and we have to speak truth to power. And aren't we going through much that same thing right now in our own world with this government
Mm.
shutdown? With
Mm.
this government shutdown, when people are working every single day not getting paid, we have to speak truth to power. And so
Mm.
if we can understand that in our regular lives outside of the church house, we can understand that and say this has to happen. Put that right over here at the church. It's got to
Period.
happen there too.
Right is right.
It's got to happen there too. Right? We have to speak truth to power. Now, along with that, we have responsibility to do our own work as the people of the church too. So when we're
Right.
talking about doing your work, it's not just for the pastor. I think it's for the members too. I think it's for everybody.
Yes.
It's for everybody.
That
Right?
church mother on the first pew is for you too.
It is. And you're never too old to go to therapy. So don't play with me. I've had
Period.
clients in their probably 70s, at least 70s. I don't know if I've
Mhm.
had anybody 80, but I do know people who have had clients in their 80s. Good work. Great work. Because
Right.
whatever time you got on the clock, use it. I don't care. Whatever time you had,
Period.
whatever time you got on the clock, use that time. Whatever time you have. So age does not have therapy does not have a cutoff, and get on in there and get it done.
Period. Okay,
Right.
so if you are the person who was listening to us and you are saying, "Yes, I have had church hurt," I also want you to understand that church healing is possible,
Ah,
right?
it
Like,
is
it does
possible.
not have to end with the hurt. A lot of times we put the hurt is the period. The hurt might be a comma or a
Right.
semicolon, okay? So as you begin to decide, I think I want to heal from this process, I don't want you to ignore, reduce, minimize, or, you know, just to stop paying attention to the pain. I want you to acknowledge it. And I
Right.
want you to kind of explore it. Sometimes we don't do a good job of exploring our pain. Like, what caused this? What created this wound? How was I susceptible to this? I think about this sometimes when, like in conversations around people who've been in cults. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
How do people get like, yes, you're hurt. Well, probably you were hurt to begin with, but put you in a position to be susceptible to this type of a experience. So acknowledge that pain, name it, acknowledge what caused it, separate your relationship with God from the building and the people in it
Right.
because he is still a good God, even if they are flawed. Okay. And then look for a community that works for you. And that might be a therapist's office, right? That might be a small group. There are a lot of people online who are actively deconstructing their faith and they will hold space for you. I mean, like the deconstruction community is if you haven't ever heard that term before, just look it up. These are some people who love God real bad, but are not willing to follow the status quo. Because I think we have to understand, like, the relationship with God and the religious experience of being in the church are two separate things. And so there's a lot of different ways for you to have a relationship with God. So if that particular church building, and I thinking specifically it might be people who like, I live in a small town. You know what I mean? Like, how can I find a relationship? How can I, there's only two churches in town and they both ain't good. You can still find some type of a spiritually safe community, and then make sure you're still doing your practices, right? Like worship, connection, exercising your faith. All of those things are important. A couple of people who came up as good people to follow in this space was Dr. Anita Phillips was one. And then Dr. Thelma. What's her last name? Because
Mm-mm, I think it's Thema. I don't think it has a L.
Thema.
Talking
Thema.
about,
Okay, Dr. Thema. What's her last
Thema
name? Because
Bryant.
she's
Bryant.
is that her last name? No, because ain't she married? Oh,
Uh,
she's Bryant. Okay, she's Bryant. Yeah,
I
Dr. Thema Bryant. So, they're having good conversations about what it means to be a person of faith who loves God, who has some questions, who is rumbling with some things. And I'm gonna say it one more time, just in case you didn't hear me. God can handle your rumble. Okay, He
Right.
can handle your questions. He can handle your hurt. He might could even handle it better than the people. So if there is church hurt, there is an opportunity for church healing. And I hope that this episode has been a part of that. I hope that this was one of the, because you're like, a restorative conversation doesn't necessarily remove what hurt, but it gives you an opportunity to have a little bit of hope. So I hope that this conversation has been that for you.
Hope
You
so
got
too.
anything?
I really just want to encourage everybody to to be patient with themselves as they're working through it. If you find yourself here in this conversation and you can admit that you have been hurt, I just want you to hold space for yourself as you heal. Like, it doesn't have to be, this is a part of your journey, but it doesn't have to be the only part of your journey. And for those people, again, who haven't experienced anything at the hands of their church organization or their pastor, then we just want you to hold space for the ones who have, because thank God you haven't experienced something. But
Hmm.
it's very real for many people, and we gotta pause and just say we hear you and we see you and we understand, and we hold space for your experience.
Right. And if
Yeah,
you are a church leader,
yeah,
and that is of a Black or a white church, right?
right.
Or a Hispanic church, or Asian church, whatever. And you were saying, like, I think we've had some members that might have been hurt by the church in the past, and we want to welcome them back home. We
Mhm,
are more than happy to help you in that process to
mm,
creating some spaces that will be safe. And yes, you need to be in the word in order to be a church leader, but you also need some personal development. You need some conversations. You need some mentorship and some guidance in how to handle people. Um, and also how to handle the heaviness of the work that you're doing. So we are open to that as well. But we hope that this was a good conversation for you. And as always, we want you to hit us up on social media, drop the comments whether you're watching this on YouTube, listen to it on Apple, listen to it on Spotify or Amazon, wherever you listen to it, drop a comment and let us know. And most importantly, make sure that you share. Share this with far and wide with anybody that you know who could use a safe space to have a conversation about an important topic. But
alright, y'all.
as always, we love y'all. We love y'all. We hope this was a great episode for you, and we'll be back with another one in a couple of weeks. Bye bye.
Bye.